Alright, hey guys, Wefes here and welcome to another Hearthstone card review because there are a whole bunch of cards that were released over the past few days and let's begin. First, we have our Netherspite Historian. It's a neutral 2 mana 1 free that has a battle cry of if you're holding a dragon, discover a dragon. So basically it's something like Museum Curator, right? But in this sense it's more of instead of death rattle cards, you're looking at dragons, right? So let's take a look at what kind of dragons you want to actually discover, right? Obviously the ones you kind of want to discover are the things like Azure Drake. You want to discover things like Alexstrasza. Well, some of the notable dragons that you want to discover. If you are a mage and you're playing Netherspite Historian, you're more likely to get, say, Kuldara Drake because that's a mage card. And if you're a paladin and you're playing Netherspite Historian, then you are more likely to discover a dragon consort, which is really good in dragon decks anyway, right? So maybe dragon paladins are making a comeback. I'm not quite sure just yet. It is possible. We'll have to see if this card is actually good. Next, you might be discovering cards like Scaled Nightmare. Fortunately, because it's a discover mechanic, you don't really need to pick Scaled Nightmare. You can pick the other two choices. I don't think many dragons are bad. Some of them are maybe a little bit too costly for you to play after turn 2. Obviously, things like the legendary dragons are you definitely won't be able to play them on turn 2 or turn 3. So, but they will pay off later on, right? Nosdormu is one of the dragons that you might be able to discover if you feel like your opponent is playing really slowly and you really hate his guts. You want to play Nosdormu. Otherwise, all the other legendary dragons are really good. Deathwing, Alexstrasza, Ysera, even Malygos. It's really good. Unless you kind of don't run any spells, then Malygos is not that good. But it's actually a pretty good card considering. Bookworm, another one, right? The one that was released earlier this week. Yeah, Bookworm is another card that you might want to use. You might want to discover and use, and that's pretty good. So yeah, possible synergy with Medivh and new Deathwing, the new Deathwing Dragon Lord, right? Basically, if you have a lot of dragons and you can even discover more dragons, I don't see why not. You want to play Deathwing, like you play Deathwing and then you play Nosdormu later on. Nosdormu, Medivh later on. It's so good. And so slow. It's really slow. This card doesn't really do anything. The stat line is 1 free. Basically, there are a lot of 1-drops that are already 1 free. Museum Curator is considered a good card, even though it's a 1/2. But this is a dragon, and dragons are a little bit more costly than Death Rattle cards most of the time. So yeah, I think it's too slow. It might see play. There are possibilities. So I'm just gonna give it a 5 out of 10. Next, we have Zoobot. So basically the dream for Zoobot is this. Turn 1 you play Finley, turn 2 you play Fairy Dragon, and turn 3 you profit, right? But how often is that gonna happen? It's a free mana, free mech that gives a friendly random beast, dragon, and murloc +1/+1. So like it's really specific, and considering the fact that you might have more than one beast or more than one dragon on the board, you might not buff the one you want. So, I'm not too sure. I'm not sold on this card. I don't think this is good at all. Therefore, I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 10 because free mana, free. Is Shattered Sun free mana, free? Or was it 2/2? I'm not so sure. But Shattered Sun Cleric can let you choose the buff, the minion you want to buff. So, I think that's a little bit better because you want to buff other minions. You want to choose which one you want to buff. So yeah, Zoobot not too sold. Not so good. Next, we have Silverware Golem. Silverware Golem is a free mana, free again, but it's a Warlock card. And the text is, if you discard this minion, summon it. So, earlier this week, we also introduced the Malchizar's Imp. Basically, when you discard a card, you draw a card. So this comes with a lot of synergy with things like Doomguard. You might even be able to play Succubus nowadays, right? Because of these discard mechanics coming into play. So maybe we might be able to see a discard deck. However, I still think they are not so playable because there are too little rewards for discard decks, right? You really mill yourself too quickly and you are not getting as much returns as you want. Warlock cards have packed so much value into their cards already. So when you discard good high value cards, it's really disheartening, right? Especially when you cannot choose which card you want to discard. It's like sometimes if you have like 3 cards and you have 4 cards, you play Doomguard, and it just so happens that Silverware Golem doesn't leave your hand and you have to play it later on. It's really bad. But yeah, so It is possible that discard decks are good, will be good, depending on whether or not there are more discard cards that are coming out from this KARAZHAN expansion. But for now, I'm just gonna give it a 6 out of 10. It is possible, but unlikely, right? Next, we have a Foolsbane. Basically, it's a 5 mana warrior's weapon. That's a 3/4. So free attack for durability, unlimited attacks each turn. Can't attack heroes. So basically, this Fiery War X, this combined double Fiery War X cannot go face, right? But you can literally chop all the minions on the board, and especially if it's a mirror match, you want to chop away all the free frees, right? The Ravaging Ghouls and whatnot. And when you look at like things like Silverware Golem, it's a free as well, kill it off. It's a Zoobot, kill it off. Oh, so many free health creatures you want to kill off, right? So many free health creatures. So I think it's a pretty good card considering the mana cost, right? It's a 5 mana 3/4. Like, okay, fine, if you play 2 Fiery War X's, it's 4 mana for 3/2. But I think considering the fact that you have unlimited attacks each turn, I'd gladly pay 1 more mana for it. And I only see, but I only see this weapon being played in control, right? You don't want to play something that cannot attack face if you're playing the pirate deck or the aggro variation of dragon variation of warrior, right? If you're playing Foolsbane, you really want to control the board only, and that plays into his wheelhouse, right? Because he has tons of armor, so he can trade like a madman, like chop, everything dies, and well. Is it a better Fiery Wind X? I guess it is, but I would still run Fiery War X even in control. Like 1 Fiery War X and 1 Foolsbane seems like a good idea. Yeah, it's definitely better than Arcanite Reaper, right? It's a 5. Arcanite Reaper is like a 5/2. This is like a 3/4. So a total stats 3 times 4 is 12, 5 times 2 is 10. So 12 is better than 10. So yeah, it's something like a Mega Wind Fury for Warrior. Unfortunately, when he trades, he takes damage. He has lots of armor. He doesn't care. So I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. But we'll have to see if there are many taunts on the board. Like if an opponent suddenly plays like what's that card called? Protect the King, right? You're kind of sad because you can't really chop all the. You just don't want to chop all the pawns, but you have Ravaging Ghoul, so it really doesn't matter. So yeah. Next we have Moonglade Portal. It's a 6 mana druid card that restores 6 health and summons a random 6 cost minion. So the previous portal card was a mage card that deals 5 damage and summons a 5 mana creature, right? For this one, it's a 6 mana, restore 6 health, summon a 6 mana creature. So when I took a look at all the 6 drops that was possible for you to summon, I didn't have many complaints. Of course, some of them are 4/5s and whatnot. 4/5s are not so good, but it's still it's okay. Like Kabbalah's Soul Priest, that's not so good, but it's still decent. Like you can still trade upwards, so it's not that bad. Especially when you consider the fact that you already restored 6 health in the process, right? So some of the notable 6 drops I discovered, which are a lot by the way. If you look at the list, it's Dark Araquor, a druid card, 7 High Main, obviously one of the best 6 drops in the game. Sea Reaver, considering the stat line of 6/7, it is really good. And this Sea Reaver doesn't deal 1 damage to the entire board, right? Because it's summoned. It's not like you didn't draw the card, so it's pretty good. And of course the legendary cards that are 6 mana. Emperor Thaurissan, Sylvanas Windrunner, Cam Bloodhoof. So possible to make a N'Zoth druid now? Nah, I don't think so. It's still highly unlikely. But it's there. Okay, Emperor Thaurissan, good card. Sylvanas Windrunner, game changer. Cam Bloodhoof, good with N'Zoth. But then there are also the bad 6 drops, right? One of the worst 6 drops you can ever get when you heal for 6 and you see a Corrupted Seer appear on the board. You're really sad. What the heck is a 2/3 doing on the board, right? It's what, I spent 6 mana for this? I don't like it. Well, but there are also other 6 drops that are considered bad, like the Nerubian Prophet. It's a 4/4, and Mistcaller is also 4/4, and it doesn't proc the battle cry, right? So these are the kind of the worst cards that you might be able to find from Moonglade Portal, but your chances of getting a decent card are, well, decent. So it's a 6 mana card, so it's kind of slow, but it gives you a lot of mid-range value. So I see this being played in, say, like a Cthulhu Druid, maybe, where sometimes Cthulhu Druids kind of fall really far behind in the early stages of the game, and he can sort of heal back and start making a comeback. I mean, like if a Dark Era Core appears, it's really good, right? So I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10 because it's still kind of slow. I was tempted to kick it down to 6, but I still think that the value keeps it a little bit higher. But yeah, next we have the legendary card Medivh the Guardian. It's an 8 mana neutral legendary. You would have thought that maybe Medivh the Guardian would be like a mage legendary, right? No, it's a neutral legendary. And battle cry, equip Atish, Great Staff of the Guardian. Alright, Medivh himself has a 7/7 stat line, kind of gives you bad memories of Dr. 7 right there. But it's not that bad because it's for 8 mana you get a weapon of 1 free. You don't want to use that weapon though because it actually has an effect. After you cast a spell, summon a random minion of that cost, and when you summon, you lose 1 durability. Obviously, you don't want to have that thing forever and, like, you know, have a permanent summoning stone on the board. That's not happy times. But yeah, I would think that Medivh the Guardian is still kind of slow. It has obviously you want to play high cost spells in order to milk all the value out of Atish. So the best costs are technically 5 drops, 6 drops, and 8 drops. 8 drops are the best because of all the really good legendaries that are 8 drops. Ragnaros, Tyrion. So basically, if you play Call of the Wild and and Tyrion Fort Ring appears, you are so happy. So happy. A 7/6 Divine Shield Taunt with Death Rattle. Sign me up for that. Okay? So yeah, but like I said, this card is kind of slow at 8 mana. When you summon it, it still doesn't really do anything. You still need to wait a turn. At 10 mana, at most you can combo it with a 2 mana spell, and 2 mana minions are not so good, right? And yeah, you're kind of still afraid of things like Harrison and Ooze, right? With all the weapon players nowadays, there's so many Harrison Jones out there, like because of Shamans, Doomhammer, as well as Warriors using their Fiery Wind axes, a lot of people have started to run a lot of Harrison and Ooze. So it's kind of dangerous because even though your weapon is kind of useless, the effect is really good. And when Harrison appears, you're really sad because you basically played an 8 mana 7/7, which is not value. So it's really slow. I'm not too sure if it will do well, but I will give it a 7 out of 10. Again, I was really tempted to push it down to 6, but we'll see if people can make it work, right? If people makes it work, it's gonna be pretty good. Oh, so that's pretty much it for all of the cards that were revealed so far. I hope you guys enjoyed this card review. Let me know if I was wrong in the comments down below. Please leave a like and maybe subscribe for more card reviews in the future. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.